It's a victory for Italy's new ruling coalition.
We did it. We did it.
The populist government set its budget deficit target for the next 3 years at 2.4% of its GDP. That's 3 times higher than the target it set in its agreement with the EU. The bloc had demanded that Italy gradually cut its fiscal gap to curb its borrowing.
This economic manoeuvre is not for the people, but against the people. It will create many problems in the north without solving those of the south. It will not increase employment, but will put Italian savings in trouble and will increasingly put our country in the hands of creditors, not only internal, but also external.
Italy has the second largest debt in the EU at 132% of its GDP, or $2.7 trillion. And it's been under pressure from the bloc to slash spending. But the five-star and League parties need money to fund their costly campaign pledges.
We have talked for a long time and now we can begin. We will finally have the People's Law to include a citizen's income, citizen's pension scheme, pension reforms, money for those who have been swindled by banks, all of that which we decided to do.
The coalition's policies are a major shift from that of the previous centre-left administration. Investors saw Economy Minister Giovanni Tria as the guarantor of financial stability. He wanted a deficit target as low as 1.6% within the scope of EU rules. Italians, however, seem tired of worsening standards of living after years of austerity.
I am confident because I feel for the first time we are doing something new.
But concerns over a dispute with the EU have investors worried.
You just need to look at the market this morning. It's losing nearly 3%. Banking stocks are at -5. I just don't know, what can we do? I think that what they thought to do in order to protect the weakest will be lost in the interest to pay off the debt.
The government still has to finalise its budget plan. And while some Italians hope it will deliver the promised changes, many others in Italy and abroad can only hope the plan is enough to prevent another debt crisis in the heart of the Eurozone. Regan, Vignes, TRT World.
Well, let's get more on this now from TRT World Editor-at-Large Craig Copetas, who joins us live from Paris. Good to see you again, Craig. When we were chatting yesterday, Italian leaders were in the thick of their marathon cabinet meeting. We were wondering if cooler heads would prevail after they met. Seems like they haven't. What do you make of this budget proposal?
Well, if it's a victory, it's a Pyrrhic victory. And I think we also have a new collective noun, terms of venery, such as an exultation of larks, a herd of asses. What we have here is a bloat of populists who have absolutely no idea what we're doing. They know nothing about history. They certainly haven't gone back even 20 years to look how Greece went down this same path and got itself screwed. So I'm not surprised that the euro is falling, that government bonds are being sold off. Who's going to want to invest in a country like this?
But on the face of it, though, it is a very appealing budget if you're an Italian citizen. It's proposing a guaranteed basic income for the poor, sweeping tax cuts, abolishing plans to raise the retirement age. It seems that the populist leaders are betting on stimulus in order to grow the economy. Why is it flawed in Italy's case?
Because if you are vastly in debt, as Italy is, and you borrow more money to do popular programs, you're still going to have to pay the debt, and more interest on the principal. Who are the creditors? That was a question asked by someone in the story we just ran out. Who are the creditors? Will they be the Chinese? Will One Belt, One Road come in there? Italy doesn't have the money. They are currently in it. Oscar, we throw numbers around on this show so much. Italy is $2.7 trillion in debt. Now, everyone stop for a minute and think of that number. That's a lot of money. It's going to take decades upon decades to pay off that kind of debt and the interest on the principal. And now the Italian populists want to even glom more money onto that. It makes no sense.
Yes, and as we know, the EU absolutely hates this plan. It flouts their spending limits. But when push came to shove in 2016, the EU chose not to penalise Spain and Portugal, which released budgets that did a similar thing and flouted the EU spending rules. Do you think the EU will act tough on Italy, or will they let them go?
Boy, that's Oscar, that is the classic $64,000 question. I think if the boys in Brussels want to keep the EU together, they're going to have to let Italy slide on this, because the growth towards populism in Europe, and no secret, it's growing. We have Brexit. We have other countries who would like to get out of the European Union. So if they want to keep Italy in, they want to keep Portugal in, they want to keep Spain in, they're going to have to give them more flexibility. But that doesn't get away from the fact that someday you have to pay the piper.
And you alluded to it earlier, but obviously there are fears that we could see another Greek-style collapse of an economy here. Is that too premature, or is that a justified fear?
Well, I can remember during the Olympic Games in Athens, and when was it, 2002, we were talking about this, and that question came up. Is it a justified fear that Greece is going to collapse because of all the borrowing they've done for infrastructure? And a lot of people said, oh, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Well, it did. And I think it's going to happen here, but, you know, it will likely not happen in the same way. The North is very rich. The South is very poor. You know, watch this space. But it comes back. What happens, Oscar, if you have a home and you have a mortgage? You have to pay out, say, $100 a month, and you don't come up with the money. What do? They take your home. And that has become the trend here globally now, with this vast debt packages that countries are being forced to live with.
That's right, and Italy's parliament still has to pass the budget, so we'll see what happens there.
Right.
Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you as always.